Okay, so today I want to talk about saying no because I don't think that we're taught how to say no enough when we're young. So, if you've never seen me before, hi, my name is Kat Donovan, and basically my whole goal is to live an authentic and fulfilling life. And part of doing that is knowing when to say no and being okay with saying no and having comfortability and a peace of mind when saying no. I don't think no should be something that you feel guilty for saying. And I think, especially as women, you oftentimes are made to feel bad or guilty for saying no. And so part of changing that is actually talking about scenarios that we've had where we've gained confidence by saying no and taking back our autonomy by saying no. Because I think one thing that I realized as I've done more and more self-work is I wrote something where it was basically like something along the lines of, where did I get this belief that I should just be saying a certain answer that I know the other person wants to hear, so that way I don't feel like I'm having a choice being taken away from me. Like, I think oftentimes when we're young, we're given a choice, and if we don't choose the right thing, that thing still happens anyways. Whether it be like, what do you want for dinner? And then your parent decides that it's easiest to make mac and cheese over hamburgers or something like that. Very obscure, or the example isn't important, but you know what I'm saying. And I just think that the more that happens to you when you're young, the more you kind of keep doing it when you're old, or older. But the scenarios are worse. It's no longer what you're getting for dinner. It's what jobs you're taking, what relationships you're okay with, morals that are on the line. Like, it's much, much bigger than just your dinner. And I think that's how we get ourselves into a lot of bad situations, and that's how we feel worse and worse about ourselves as we get older, because we just keep making these choices that aren't the choices we want to make, but we don't feel like we can make the choices we want to make. We've been taught that that isn't how life works, but it is. You get to make whatever choice you want. You get to say no to whatever you want to say no to. So, that being said, I have two stories that I think, in different ways, very different ways, raised my self-worth and self-respect by just recognizing what was happening in the scenario and then being able to say no to it. I think these two things were huge in me being in the mental state that I am at this point. So basically, one of them is pertaining to serving. So if you didn't know, I am a nomad, which means that I don't have a permanent residence. I quit my corporate job back at the beginning of 2024. And that was also a win for me, because it was realizing that corporate in itself is awful for self-validation. It consistently teaches you that you need to have someone else like you, or you need to have someone else think that you're smart, or you have to have someone else always. You're just always trying to get someone else's approval, because that's how you get promoted. If you're well liked, you get promoted. If you get more opportunities, the more well liked you are. But the goal in life is not to be liked, it's to be yourself. And that's why I think corporate is terrible, because you don't get to wear what you want to wear. You don't get to think however you want to think. Your goals are tied to someone else. There's just a lot riding on someone else doing something for you or giving something back to you once you give all of this work to them. And I don't think that's good for your self-esteem. In fact, I can say, as someone that was in corporate and it absolutely ate me alive, that being out of corporate is the best thing, not only for my mental health, but like my self-worth, my purpose in life. Like, I have so much more to give than being the bottom barrel of a corporate company and being told that's where I have to stay until someone else feels like I am worthy of something more than that. So that in and of itself, I quit that job. I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Bye-bye. But that being said, quit that job. I was a server. I served in New York. I served in Cape Cod, on Cape Cod, and I served in New York again. And I told myself that last time that I served in New York, that was going to be the last time I ever served. So I went abroad for a little bit, and whenever I came back in March, I was like, well, I should probably make money now. And again, this is ingrained in me that someone else needs to be paying me. It's really hard for me to understand that I can run a business and that I am fully capable of making money for myself. Again, I think it just goes into the belief that if you lack belief in yourself whenever you're in all of these scenarios where you don't feel like you can say no. Hate to say it, but your self-worth, I know you don't want to admit it to yourself, but as soon as you do, you can actually start to face the challenges. My self-worth was really, really low. I didn't think that I was worthy of a lot of things that I'm very much so worthy of. And one of that is being able to make money for myself in a sense where someone else isn't paying me a salary, but I'm actually figuring out creative ways to use my skills to have people pay me. So I went and I was like, put all this time and energy into getting a serving job. I get the serving job, and immediately I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? We told ourselves we weren't going to do this anymore. And it was a job that kind of went against other morals of mine. Like, I had to wear makeup. I had to do my hair. All of these things that I no longer was interested in. So I was like, this is all a show. This is all a sham. If I say yes to this job, I am every single day living out of alignment. And every single day, I'm going to have someone telling me what I can and can't do. And that really sat not well with me. So after 2 days, I quit that job. And it couldn't be something that I quit by just saying, well, I'm moving. It was literally, well, I don't want to do this actually. I'm sorry, but I actually just don't want to. And I don't even think I said I'm sorry, because I made sure not to say I'm sorry, because I wasn't. What I was doing in the end was best for both of us, because I didn't want to be there. And why would they want someone who doesn't want to be there to be working? It would just, I was doing everyone a favor. There was nothing to be sorry about. You should never feel sorry for doing the things that align with you. So I basically just said, I just don't want to do it. And it felt so small, or it seemed so small on the outside looking in, but that in and of itself was actually a huge confidence boost for me, because I was like, I am very capable of saying no. And it was understanding that I don't have to feel bad for saying no. At first I did, like going into it, I had to hype myself up a little bit. And then when the guy asked me if I had already been helped, and I was like, I work here, or I did, I'm actually here to quit. That's when I was like, yeah, this guy does not care. No one here cares if I work here or not. You have no reason to feel bad. You did nothing wrong. And I think that's something that you have to consistently repeat in your head to get out of this mindset that saying no is bad. And I think being able to have little confidence boosts like that, where it's such small things, but internally it's actually like a huge thing, those things will keep piling on and piling on. And that's actually how you create this self-worth, is through these little acts of alignment. And something of this, like this, me being able to quit this job, helped me with what comes next. So I had another opportunity where I had someone email me about Miami Swim Week. I had done it last year. So this year they were like, hey, I saw your Instagram. Would love to get on a call with you. I'm looking to cast for these brands. Let me know if you're interested. And I was like, hey, I'd like to get a better understanding of like compensation and everything like that. But yeah, I'm very interested. So basically they tell me that they would pay for my travel, my hotel, and I would actually get paid to walk. So I was like, that sounds cool. Let's hop on a call. They failed to mention in the email that the #1 brand that they were trying to cast for was Playboy. And when he asked me if that was all right, I said, well, I'm going to have to think about that. And in that moment, that is when that call should have ended for me, because I knew already in my heart, like, that is not in alignment for me. I don't do that. That doesn't serve my purpose. I didn't say it at that point though. I just kind of said that, and he was like, why? And that in itself should have been when the call was done as well, because it was like, what do you mean why? Like, you know what that brand is all about. You know it's about sex and nudity. So it shouldn't be a shock that not everyone wants to tie their brand to that, even though they're okay with doing swimwear. And anyways, we kept going, and he asked me to walk, which is very normal, totally fine. As we're doing it, he's like, you're so beautiful, just be more confident. And he said it enough times where I was like the first few times I just ignored it, because I was like, I think it's really, really weird, honestly, when someone says stuff like that, because I'm just like, it just comes off to me like you're trying to get something out of me. Why do you keep trying to, it's almost like he's trying to make me feel safe with him, or like I should trust him, but the words that he's saying just make me not want to trust him, because I think he's trying to manipulate me into trusting him. I don't know if that's my own like mental issue, but I think I was right in this scenario, because I thought about it. I remembered thinking in that moment and being like, I have done this walk so many times before. I've practiced this walk so many times. Confidence is not my issue. And if it is an issue right now, it's because I'm not comfortable. Like, I'm either not showing up as confident because I'm very uncomfortable, or we have different definitions of confidence, because he also kept telling I need to be more bouncy. And I realized, like, confidence is not my boobs bouncing up and down and my butt jiggling while I'm walking. That's objectification. And understanding that what was happening was just not at all what I want, not something that was serving me. It was degrading and objectifying, and I wasn't there for that. So I did, in fact, stop the call right then, and I thought about it. It was weird how I had this sequence of thoughts happen, and I was like, I had to quit that job and say no, so that way I would be comfortable enough to say no in this moment, to actually recognize what was happening, because I don't think that we give ourselves enough patience to understand that when you are consistently taught from a young age that you don't have a choice, it's really hard to recognize in moments where you should be making a choice that you can speak up, that you can say something. And that is the issue in and of itself, is we need to talk more about these things and these situations, so that way when you're in them, you can recognize quicker, like, this is a situation for me to say no and get out and be done. This is a situation where I say no. And you start to recognize the situations where you're being manipulated, and you're like, this sounds familiar. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing these things. And so I'm really, really proud of myself for recognizing in that moment, and not just having like a after the fact situation where it's like, why did I do that? I'm really glad that I stopped that call when I did, and I literally said, I just don't want to do this. And I never had to speak to them ever again. And it was great. And it was like, I don't even care about the opportunity that was missed, because it's like, I had an opportunity to honor myself, and I did that, and that made me feel really good about me. And so having those two back-to-back scenarios like that, I think they happened within the same week, honestly, was huge for me. And I think because of that, I've been able to say no to a lot more things. I've had other opportunities that have come up where I'm like, the old me might have chased this, but the new me doesn't want this. I recognize for myself that this is not in alignment, and another better, more aligned opportunity will come along the more I say no to these ones that are not for me. So I think it's really important that we have these talks, and that if you have similar situations like this, feel free to put it in the comments below, or if this resonated, feel free to put it in the comments below, because I do really think that the more we speak about these things, the easier they are to recognize, and the more we're able to say no and get our autonomy for ourselves back. And with that also, if you are a parent and you have a little girl, make sure that you're teaching her to say no at an early age, and making sure that she doesn't feel like she doesn't have a choice. If you're giving her choices, make sure that you're honoring them. That is the best way for her to be able to grow up and know that her choices matter and her choices are her own. And she can say no to anything that she does not want. And I think ingraining that in little girls from a young age is extremely, extremely important in order to change society and the way that women have to live life, honestly. And it's not have to live life, but the way that we're taught to live life. Like, we have so many options. There's so much out there for us, and we deserve more. And we just have to take it. But we need to understand how to take it in order to be able to take it. So, with that, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, subscribe. I love chatting with you guys. I love getting to hear any feedback that you have, or hearing your stories as well. And if you want more content, I do have a Patreon. Right now it's more spiritual, but I'm working on a women's only section where we can talk more about these things, and I have more thoughts and opinions on this, because it's kind of just like sharing my own journey with the self, and how I've found more self-respect, self-validation, self-love, self-worth, all of that, because I really do think it's changed my life a lot. And I don't think that changing internally gets as much credit as it does when you change externally, but the external changes come from you changing internally. So again, I hope that this was super helpful, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. All my love to you. Bye.